Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton creating headlines with her new memoirs, Hard Choices. Clinton calling President Obama's request to serve as Secretary of State a, quote, unexpected partnership. Joining me now is the A-Team, Republican strategist and former spokesperson for President George W. Bush, Mercedes Schlapp, and Democratic strategist Robert Zimmerman. All right, Mercedes, let's start with Hillary Clinton and her new memoirs and this unexpected partnership. What is that all about?
Well, you have to remember, look back at the election of, 2008, where basically Hillary Clinton was telling Barack Obama, shame on you, Barack. So it was basically one way that I don't think she ever expected that she was going to be picked as Secretary of State. There was never a friendly relationship there between the two candidates at the time. But again, she has to thank, I think, to a certain point, President Obama, because he kept Hillary Clinton relative in the political arena.
I assure you, Mercedes, Hillary Clinton will always be relevant in the political arena, whether she was Secretary of State or not. There are easier ways to be relevant without having to travel the world as often as she did.
Wait a minute. There are easier ways than, I mean, what would have been more high profile, Robert, than Secretary of State?
What could be harder work besides being president? Let's be realistic. This was a very tough assignment, and I think it's a very instructive lesson to both parties when we see this type of partnership emerge. That President Obama could work with Secretary of State Clinton, put the politics behind them, but their respect and ultimately their friendship really forged a great union.
There was no friendship there.
Mercedes, could we actually argue that it was politics, though?
It was absolutely politics. I mean, at this point, I think that, President Obama was about keeping Hillary
Mercedes,
Clinton
he got the job.
Closer.
What was the politics? He already had the position. He won with a record vote over John McCain and Sarah Palin.
You keep your enemies close.
Let me tell you,
enemies close.
Mercedes, you need new talking points. That's old news. They have formed a very effective partnership.
News. I mean, Hillary Clinton is old news. She's served as Secretary of State, did a terrible job as Secretary of State, and so yeah, absolutely, she's old news. So
now, I do want to let me ask you this though, Robert. Listen, to a large degree, she was able to sort of fly under the radar because of all the scandals, all the things that happened under her watch. But Benghazi in particular really seems to be...
Let's be realistic.
Let's be honest about Benghazi.
Let's be honest about Benghazi.
Benghazi really seems to be the dark cloud that she cannot remove herself from.
That's right.
You know something? That's a right-wing talking point, but it's not relevant or factual. The reality is the reason that Hillary Clinton, when you talk about her being old news, she tops almost every poll in terms of among most respected people in our country. She tops every national presidential poll, whether she chooses to run or not. It shows what an important force she remains in the national debate. And I think and if you look at her achievements as Secretary of State, yes, the right wing wants to turn the tragedy of Benghazi into a political scandal, but that's why the right wing has lost every presidential vote in the past 20 years except for one.
I tell you who else lost. Hillary Clinton, when she was the #1 political person for the Democrats in 2008. Mercedes, here's the thing. I don't know. It's just a lot of people now wondering if she's going to run, that she have the oomph that it takes to run. A lot of calls calling for an Elizabeth Warren. She was embarrassed pretty badly when this upstart, a senator, a relatively unknown senator, sort of snatched the limelight from her and the White House.
Well, here's what we know is that, yes, I mean, obviously with Ready for Hillary, they've garnered over 2 million supporters. They've raised millions of dollars. I mean, it's really hers to take. And that's the one thing you got to give the Democrats. They seem pretty united with her. There are those that are talking about Elizabeth Warren, et cetera. But when you look at it,
it's only the right wing talking about Elizabeth Warren hoping for a contest.
Part of this partnership that she's having with President Obama, this unexpected partnership, might come to hurt her in the long run. With his disapproval ratings at over 54%, this is going to be something that she's going to try to have to figure out a way to distance herself from President Obama, and it will be very difficult as former Secretary of State.
And Mercedes, on that point, with the minute left, I do want to segue a little bit to this VA scandal. Sure. Robert, you have to admit that this is ugly. The budget's gone up, the wait times have gone up.
Why would I have to admit any more than a Republican would have to admit?
I mean, everybody in America is admitting.
This is a bipartisan scandal.
But only one person has been in charge for the last 6 years who vowed coming into office to clean this up. It's gotten worse.
Actually, as a matter of fact, let's also remember there have also been really historic gains in the veteran administration, too. Reducing the number of homeless, focusing on job placement for veterans.
You're getting off the talking points, Rob.
There's no excusing this tragedy and this scandal because these wait lists, people who are responsible for these wait lists, as far as I'm concerned, are guilty of murder.
Mercedes, I got 20 seconds left. I'll give you the last word.
This is what happens when you have government running hospitals. Government needs to stay out of patient care. The veterans should have the real choice. They should be the ones that should be able to access whatever private health health insurance they want to do, and the VA should give them that flexibility. Government's got to stay out of people's health care.
Mercedes,
I can see.
Does that include Medicare, Mercedes?
Oh, wait. We're out of time, but I can see why you guys are the A-team. Both of you are fantastic.
We're also going to be watching Monday night, 6 o'clock, Making Money with Charles.
Thank you very much. You will come on that show as well. Mercedes, thanks a lot. Robert Zimmerman, we appreciate you as well. And reminder to vote, guys, tonight on the online poll, do you believe President Obama will ever remove all of the troops from Afghanistan? Vote at LouDobbs.com or tweet your response at LouDobbsNews. And now the word of the evening, empathy, identifying with the feelings of others. Some Democrats now saying President Obama is lacking empathy for our veterans by not taking a more aggressive action in the VA scandal. Empathy. And remember that Lou Dobbs' brand new book, Border Wars, is on sale online and at bookstores nationwide, or you can go to LouDobbs.com for links.